10 survival uses for metal canteens or water bottles. Traditionally, we would use canteens and water bottles to hold water or other liquids, and maybe also to boil water if we're out in the field and we don't have any clean water. We could always boil it and make it safer. So that's kind of like typically the main uses, obviously. But what about these? The first is a reflective surface. And a lot of canteens and water bottles are made of like stainless steel, and they typically have like a satin finish or maybe even a high polish finish. And that could be used as a signal device. You could use a signal to other people for help or to get attention or to basically make known your location. The next is as a fire starter. Now, I would imagine this to be very difficult. I'm sure it's possible. There are people that I would trust that say that they have done this, but I have not. And that is to use the reflective surface of the canteen or water bottle to reflect light down and on a piece of tinder until the tinder combust. Of course, I would imagine you would need some pretty intense sunlight to do that, but apparently it is possible. The next is to create like a camp alarm system. And what you can do is attach a piece of a cordage or a wire and kind of make like a tripwire, if you will, setup. So when someone crosses over and activates or hits the cordage or wire, it knocks the bottle over. And basically in the bottle, you can have some pebbles or rocks, and you can make some noise. And it kind of just gives you a little heads up. So a camp alarm. The next is you could cook or boil food in your containers. And when you're not using those containers to cook in, you could also store dry food or other types of materials. One thing that I think that a round water bottle is really handy for is to store cordage. And so the way I like to do it is I like to coil the cordage in the actual water bottle, and it makes it so that it doesn't get knotted up. It's real easy to pull out. The next possibility is to use your canteen or water bottle as a heating pack. So what you can do is you can boil water in it and then put the top back on, and you have basically like a heating pack, a way to keep yourself warm at night if it's a real cold night and you're out camping. Or maybe you just have a sore muscle. You could use it as like a hot water bottle. And on the flip side, you could also freeze water in your canteen or water bottle and make like an ice pack. So that's pretty cool. The next is that you can use your canteen or water bottle as a float or as a type of makeshift fishing bobber. There's a lot of different variations and ways to go about that. Also, you can use it as an irrigation syringe. Typically, you'd want to include like a piece of plastic or rubber sheeting so you can puncture a hole in the middle and use it to kind of control the outflow of water. This is made a lot easier, though, when you have a plastic water bottle or canteen. But it is possible to be used, especially if you can actually guide the water out and have a means to put pressure and kind of like make a bag toward the end of the water bottle. And so you can squeeze and control the pressure of water going through the actual hole to make the irrigation syringe. The next is to make a hunting trap. And so basically you can dig a little hole and put the container in the hole and put some bait down into the container. And especially small critters like mice and so forth, if they fall in there, they can't get back out because of the smoothness of the walls of the canteen or water bottle. So it's just an option if you're desperate for food. So we also have the ability to use our containers as message capsules. So if for whatever reason you need to send a message downstream and you know there's people down there and they're waiting for correspondence and maybe you don't have another way to communicate with them. Maybe your radios are down or your cell phone connection is not available. You could send a message. Of course, it would probably be very smart to make the container as bright and as visible as possible so they can see it as it goes downstream. Or you could also leave it as a capsule. So if you're like lost and you're thinking about leaving, maybe you have knowledge of how to self-rescue and you don't need your canteen. Maybe you have another canteen or maybe you have another container. You could put a message to rescue workers saying, hey, I figured out how to get to safety and we're going in this direction, and so forth. Lastly, you can make a survival kit within the metal canteen or water bottle. So you could just use that as the main container. And survival kits, for example, that would kind of make sense and that are somewhat practical would include things like maybe a fire starter, tinder, food, a whistle, signal mirror, cordage, maybe some type of cutting material or like a cutting tool, such as a blade or multi-tool, a water filter, bandana, maybe some emergency cash, compass, a map, some duct tape, a needle and thread, and maybe some type of light source. It could be like a small glow stick or two, but maybe also maybe a small headlamp, whatever can fit in the canteen or water bottle. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for checking the video out. Catch you later.